Larry Johnson was born in 1969 in Tyler, Texas. Johnson was a 6'6" power forward and considered small for that position, but made up for it as he was an explosive athlete with unique strength. Johnson played high school basketball at Dallas Skyline. In 1987, his senior year, Johnson made the McDonald's High School All-American team. Johnson made a verbal commitment to play ball at Southern Methodist University, which was a Division I school. He never intended to play junior college basketball, but Johnson wanted to stay close to home, and most of his friends were attending Odessa College, where Johnson also wanted to go. The story goes that Johnson told one of his friends to look up the coach's name as he didn't know who the coach was for Odessa. His friends then called Coach Dennis Helms and told him Larry Johnson wants to play for you. Johnson played 2 years at Odessa, dominating JUCO basketball. He became the first and only player to this day that was named Junior National Player of the Year 2 years in a row. Johnson had said that the thing that surprised him the most about JUCO ball is the talent, but averaging 22 his freshman year and 29 points a game as a sophomore doesn't seem that he was tested at all. Larry was so good, in fact, he was the first player to be recruited from a junior college to try out for the Olympic trials. He earned a spot on the travel select team that would be playing in Europe that summer. Johnson declined the offer as he was recruited by the UNLV Running Rebels and wanted to focus on his college career. Larry Johnson was a stud in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, on a squad that beat opposing teams before stepping onto the court just by intimidation. UNLV had a reputation of hard-nosed, in-your-face dunks, baggy shorts, and unique swagger. The team had 5 future NBA basketball players, which consisted of Anderson Hunt, Greg Anthony, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, and George Ackles. During his first season at UNLV, Johnson led the squad with a 34-5 record and winning a national championship in the 89-90 season. The following year, UNLV posted a 35-1 record but fell short in the Final Four, losing to Duke.
Hurley's got it! Duke has done it! Duke has upset UNLV!
Only playing 2 seasons, he holds the record for a career field goal percentage of 64% and most rebounds in a single season with 457. He is a 2-time first-team All-American with 2 Big West Player of the Year awards and the 1991 National Player of the Year. Johnson is considered among the greatest college basketball players ever to play in the NCAA. UNLV inducted his name into the Hall of Fame, and for good reason, as he helped them win the only national title in school history. Johnson declared for the NBA draft and was the first overall pick in 1991 by the Charlotte Hornets.
With the first pick in the 1991 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Larry Johnson from University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Larry Johnson from UNLV. A lot of people have talked about his size, listed at 6'7" throughout his collegiate career. Larry Johnson at the Chicago camp measured in his socks at 6'5.5".
He signed a 6-figure contract worth nearly $20 million before even dribbling the ball in the NBA. Though the expansion team, the Charlotte Hornets, had a losing record that year, LJ was named Rookie of the Year, averaging 19 and 11. His rookie year, he displayed his athletic ability during the season where he had at least one highlight play a game. If you'd never heard or seen Larry Johnson, you had no choice, as he entered the NBA dunk contest, and although he didn't win, he put on a show. He was on every sports channel highlight reel across North America. The future looked bright for this rookie, who was making himself a household name in the league. After the season, the Hornets drafted Alonzo Mourning as the number 2 overall pick. Charlotte was sporting a winning record in the 92-93 season and was 5th in the Eastern Conference. That year, Johnson started in the NBA All-Star Game, which made him the very first Hornet in franchise history to do so. He was awarded All-NBA second-team honors, averaging 22 points and 10 rebounds a game. Johnson hadn't even peaked yet, and already he was getting endorsement deals and was on magazine covers. He was the very first player to be on the cover of Slam magazine, a notable basketball magazine on the current top basketball prospects and recruits in the country. It was important for Slam to kick off their very first issue of their magazine with a notable star in the league so that the world would take the magazine seriously. During the summer of '93, Johnson signed with Converse and had his own shoe. GrandMaMa was officially born, according to Johnson in an interview with Sporting News and Slam Online. I thought I was going to be a Nike man. I sat around all summer waiting for Nike to call. When Nike finally called, they were straight up. They said they weren't going to sign me. Nike flat out told me that they didn't think I would have a good pro career because of my height at 6'6" playing power forward. Then Converse called. They said, "We've got a great idea for a commercial. We're going to put you in a gurney, cover you up. We're going to have Magic Johnson and Larry Bird operating on you. They'll say, 'Oh, we did it. A perfect basketball player.' Then they say, 'We've got to name him.' Larry says, it's got to be Larry. And Magic says, it's got to be Johnson. They go back and forth, Larry Johnson, Larry Johnson. Then I raise up off the gurney. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm signing. 6 months later, they come back and say, "Are you ready to do the commercial?" I say, "Yeah." They say, "We're going to put you in a dress, put a wig on you." I'm like, "Yo, what happened to the gurney and those guys?" They say, no, we're going to do this." I had already taken the $1 million and bought my mom a house. So that's how GrandMaMa came out.
Move it, Granny, move it! Remember, you can't beat what you can't catch. Okay, Granny, one-on-one, me and you. That was a lucky shot, Grandma.
An instant hit. GrandMaMa was recognized across the globe where anyone can purchase a Converse shoe. Johnson did numerous shoe commercials for Converse, while GrandMaMa was even featured in the Family Matters TV show. He joined up with Steve Urkel and they were teammates in a basketball tournament. Everything went smoothly during the summer of '93. Johnson suffered a herniated disc in his back. This would later be a factor in his career. Johnson was fortunate to have signed a lucrative $84 million contract extension for the next 12 years with Charlotte. During that time, this was considered one of the highest paid multi-year contract extensions. On December 27, 1993, the Hornets were victorious against the Detroit Pistons, where LJ posted a triple-double, scoring 29 points, 20 rebounds, and 11 assists. Johnson also had suffered another back injury, this time a deep low back sprain that would leave him out of action for nearly 2.5 months. Both Johnson and Mourning were injured for a very long stretch of games that season. Both were able to return back to action but fell short one game, going 41-41 in the East, missing the playoffs in the 93-94 season. Larry Johnson's injuries were forcing him to develop an outside shot. He has gone on record in crediting his coach at Odessa College teaching him how to shoot. In the 1994-95 season, it was different. Johnson and Mourning were healthy, playing almost 82 games, winning a franchise record of 50 games while earning the 4th seed in the East. Johnson made his second All-Star team, putting up 1975 that year. His numbers were impressive considering he no longer played above the rim anymore due to his injuries. LJ adapted his game to fit his current broken down body. LJ was shooting more threes than previously, attempting 210 during the 94-95 season, making 81 of them, shooting 38% from the three-point line. Because Charlotte was the 4th seed in the East, they would play returning Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, who were the 5th seed. During that time, it was a 5-game series for the first round. Bulls won the first game at Charlotte, while Hornets won Game 2. After that, the Bulls took control of the series, winning the next 2 games, making the series 3-1. During the 95-96 season, Johnson had grown frustrated with his team. He felt the Hornets did not go the extra mile in keeping their 50-win roster together from the previous year. It also reported there was friction between LJ and his teammate Alonzo Mourning. Johnson had a big money contract and Alonzo Mourning wanted one also. During his contract negotiations, the Hornets were willing to give Mourning a $10 million a year contract for the next 7 years. Mourning wanted $13 million a year. The Hornets countered with $11.2. The Hornets couldn't offer him what he wanted as they were already over their cap with $11.2. Mourning declined almost $80 million and was then traded to the Miami Heat. Larry wanted to play near his hometown in Dallas because he knew he was being traded, but Dallas had no interest in his 9-year contract worth over $80 million at the time. I believe the Hornets knew LJ's body wouldn't last much longer. At the beginning of the 96-97 season, Larry Johnson was traded to the New York Knicks. LJ took on a different role on a team with Patrick Ewing, Allen Houston, and Latrell Sprewell. He posted career lows playing with the Knicks for the remainder of his career, averaging 12 points a game. He would never be the same explosive player that he was when he first entered the league with Charlotte. I do believe LJ knew his best years were behind him. In 1998, in the first round in the 4th game of the series of the NBA playoffs, the Knicks faced the Heat. With 5 seconds to go and up 5 points, it was apparent the Knicks were about to win the game. A shot goes up and Mourning and Johnson get in a tussle while boxing out, which results in punches being thrown and both benches clearing onto the court. Coach Van Gundy of the Knicks ran onto the court with his 5-foot frame and somehow managed to get underneath a pile of bodies clinging onto Alonzo Mourning's leg for dear life.
Hardaway, no. Rebound, New York. And fists are flying at the other end. Larry Johnson is one of them. Here we go. Oakley and Mourning have at each other. And both of those guys will not play in Game 5. I guarantee you that. Van Gundy out. I don't know if it was Oakley. I couldn't see. I saw Johnson throwing punches. I think it was Larry Johnson. Pat Riley has made so much, as have his teammates, of the composure of Alonzo Mourning the last half of the season.
That game made the series tied at 2 apiece. While at that point both Alonso and Johnson were suspended for Game 5, which was excellent for the Knicks as Mourning was the Heat's best player and a huge part of their offense. The Knicks steamrolled over the Heat, winning Game 5 by 17 points and taking the series. All wasn't bad for Johnson playing for the Knicks. He was a part of the magnificent run during the year of the lockout season of 50 games in 1999. The Knicks finished as the 8th seed in the East and managed to make it all the way to the conference finals. The Knicks would face the Pacers in the conference final. The series was tied at 1 apiece. The Knicks were down by 3 with less than 12 seconds left on the clock in Game 3 at Madison Square Garden.
Foul on a 3. If it gets late, the Pacers can foul to put them on the line. Ward had it tipped. Johnson made a good catch. Johnson is fouled. Larry Johnson has hit his career quota of wild shots today. And now he's got to make one. And when they rushed him, he said, leave me alone. I got to make a free throw here. The game's a long way from being over. Reggie Miller pulled out another one at the Garden. Here's Mark Jackson. Jackson triple team. Tied up, got a shot up. No good. New York wins.
Johnson was quoted saying, "I had shooting on my brain from the start. I got it." Johnson would recall, "I was going to be the hero or I was going to be the villain, but I was going to shoot the ball." A pivotal game in this series, every Knicks fan and player believed that Game 3 was a big reason why the Knicks won the series. The New York Knicks advanced to the NBA Finals and were set to face the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs handled the series and took down the Knicks 4-1. In 2001, Larry Johnson decided to retire from the game of basketball due to the chronic back problems he was suffering. They were always an issue that affected his performance during his career, but now it just became too much. Larry Johnson played 10 years in the NBA with the Charlotte Hornets and the New York Knicks. Larry Johnson was one of the most explosive athletes to ever step foot onto an NBA court. It is sad to know we couldn't see his full potential before the injuries. He still posted an amazing NBA career. How many players could say they averaged 16 points a game and 7.5 rebounds his whole career?